Well, there you have it. No more watching Cole Caulfield in a Habs jersey. For the foreseeable future, I assume, or at least I hope. I think if the Montreal Canadiens are going to go forward with sending him down like they have, I think you got to commit to it and leave him down there for a while. I'm somewhat surprised they actually pulled the trigger on this and sent him down, but at the same time, not quite, because the start the Habs have had has been epically bad. Epically bad. He's only got 1 assist in 10 games. And, you know, a lot of the talk is that it's a confidence issue, and we'll get into that shortly. I'm not so sure that's fully it, but first, before we get into any of the Cole Caulfield stuff, I want to give Michael Pezzetta his due. He has been called up by the Montreal Canadiens, left winger. He's 23 years old, formerly drafted round 6, 160th overall by the Montreal Canadiens 5 years ago in the 2016 draft. He's 6'1", 215 pounds, and he has started his season for the Laval Rocket in the AHL on fire. He's doing it all. He's got 6 points in 8 games. He's dropping the mitts, sticking up for his teammates, providing the big energy shifts when you need him to. And I think he's going to do just that for the Montreal Canadiens as well. Obviously, his offensive input, will likely be limited at the NHL level, but the Montreal Canadiens right now need some energy. They need someone to fire up that bench. And Pezzetta, I think, will do just that. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. The guy's a beauty. He's got a great head on his shoulders, not just a set of hair and the flow, but, mature kid. And he's had to work really hard to get this call up. He's been working for it for a long time. First training camp, he starts and gets injured, ends up having to work his way back all the way up from the ECHL to then get called up for the Laval Rocket. He's in and out of the lineup and couldn't really find his place. But he had a really strong training camp with the Montreal Canadiens this year, looked really, really good. And I was, I've already mentioned I was somewhat surprised to see him sent down, but maybe a lot of that had to do with the depth at wing for the Montreal Canadiens. But now, considering the start, they've found a place for him, and hopefully he will be making his debut for the Habs very soon. I suspect he will probably play Tuesday because this team is decimated now with injuries. A few guys not 100% will likely be game time decisions here on out. Also, Cedric Paquette suspended for his hit on Trevor Zegras, so that opens up a spot as well. That was a bad hit. He deserved the 2-game suspension. And the lineups the Habs are rolling right now with the Caulfield demotion. I don't want to call it a demotion because, you don't want to, it is what it is. It's a demotion. But the lines are rolling with now are interesting. They got Drouin lined up at center. They now have Jake Evans up on the first line with Suzuki, if I'm not mistaken. But they don't have him, they don't have him playing center, which I'm very surprised about. Anyway, we can talk about all that after the Montreal Canadiens' next game or two. But for now, let's get into Cole Caulfield. His most recent season with the University of Wisconsin in the regular season, he put up 52 points, including 30 goals in just 31 games. The guy can score. He's a high-level blue-chip prospect for the Montreal Canadiens at right wing, drafted in 2019 in the first round. And, we all saw what he did last year in his professional debut, coming to play with the Laval Rocket. He pots 3 goals in just 2 games, adds an assist onto that as well. Then he joins the Montreal Canadiens partway through the season, electrifying out there for them. He puts up 5 points in 10 games for the Habs in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, he was a key for this Canadiens team, playing with Suzuki Toffoli. And he puts up 12 points in 20 games in the playoffs for us, including setting up the goal that cued the comeback against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Leafs fans have it out for Cole Caulfield. They're laughing right now with him being sent down, but you know what? In the long run, it could be the right thing to do. He's not the first young player to, start his rookie season, because that's what this is, and then be demoted. We've seen that in the past, and it has worked out for numerous players. And there's still guys that were drafted before him in 2019 that are in the AHL right now. The thing with Caulfield is that, he had that strong playoff run for us. So this year he was essentially, shoo-in to make the roster. And, maybe they shouldn't have given him the long leash that they did at the beginning in the preseason, because he didn't really have a good preseason, but then he still was given his spot on the team. That would have avoided them having to send him down right now, And I don't want to say this will tarnish the relationship between the Canadiens and Cole Caulfield, but I'm going to continue from here on out to be critical of the Montreal Canadiens' decisions in terms of developing young players, especially skilled young players, until they can prove they can develop one. Under Marc Bergevin, we have not developed drafted and developed a high skill NHL player? Not one. It's got to change. And we've seen what's happened with Kotkaniemi now. Suzuki's starting this season, struggling, albeit his play's coming around. He's picking up some assists here and there. But, I would hope, though, Cole Caulfield has a mature head on his shoulders, and that Dom Ducharme sat him down, had a good one-on-one, and he realizes why he's been sent down. And I think, at this point in the season, it's an absolute dumpster fire for the Habs right now. The morale cannot be good in that locker room. You want to get Cole Caulfield away from that. I wouldn't be opposed to getting Alex Romanov away from that either, and give him some big minutes as well, like what Cole Caulfield is going to get in Laval to try and get his confidence back. Now, the other thing, though, is confidence really the issue? He's looked fairly good out there. Maybe not in the last game or two, but prior to that, I mean, the stick handling's there. He's moving into space, but he's definitely having trouble getting his shot off and on net. Hey, but let's not pretend he's the only forward struggling right now. I don't think it's a coincidence. They all are. I still think this team's main problem is that the defense cannot move the puck. We don't have any puck movers right now, considering how Jeff Petry's playing. He's essentially our only one, but he's not up to snuff right now, and all of the forwards are struggling. So it's really not Cole Caulfield's fault, and I'd love to try and figure out a way to blame the player here, but I don't really see one, to be quite honest. The other thing, too, though, is, he started the season playing with Suzuki and Toffoli, his line from the playoffs, and then after a few games, he ends up demoted and put into the bottom six. Cole Caulfield is not a bottom six player. You're not going to get the best out of him playing in a bottom six. So my question is, why wasn't he given an opportunity to play with Dvorak and Drouin? I mean, to me, that would be a interesting looking line to put together, considering Drouin's a playmaker, Dvorak's a 200-foot center that can also score goals, and then you have Cole Caulfield, who has a lethal shot with Drouin to set him up and actually be able to use it. And not only that, I mean, he wasn't getting looks on the power play. They weren't feeding him pucks to shoot. And we've been over this quite a few times, and I just don't understand that. So, and I've criticized the Habs about this stuff in the past, about not putting their young players in a position to succeed. And they got to get away from that, especially the skill guys. But I hope this demotion or assignment to Laval works out in the long run. I hope he's there for a while, plays on the first line, gets some time with Ryan Poehling, maybe plays with Raphael Harvey-Pinard, some other strong Habs prospects. Poehling being a guy who may, be a call-up for the Habs eventually, or maybe even be a full-time guy next year, and it'd be good for him to have some more chemistry with Caulfield. So, but unfortunate we don't get to see him play for the Habs, but you can always watch the Laval games as well. And I think I'm going to do a bit more of that, considering how our season's going. Their season is still alive, albeit it's a tough division they're in. They are 4-3-1 right now. They got some work to do. But so, it is what it is at this point. And, let me know what you guys think of this demotion. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But, at this point, I think they could have done things better. But at this point, you got to send them down. Anyway, guys, we'll see how it goes. Let's look forward to some Michael Pezzetta hockey, rough and tough forecheck, maybe some gloves being dropped here or there, and would love to see him pot some of his first NHL points and maybe a goal as well at some point. Could be good net front on the power play for us as well. So, cheers, guys. Let me know if you are enjoying these videos. Get in on the discussion down in the comments. I appreciate you all. Go Habs, go.